Welcome to this briefing of the Jerusalem Press Club, JPC, another one in the series Israel Alive and Kicking. We've been running for the international press since the beginning of the coronavirus crisis. Today we host General Yossi Kuperwasser, who will speak about the potential application of Israeli law in parts of Judea and Samaria. Yossi Kuperwasser retired from the IDF with the rank of Brigadier General, his last position being the head of the research division in the IDF Military Intelligence Division. And after retiring, he became the Director General of the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs. At the moment, Kuperwasser is a senior project manager at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, JCCA, specializing in the security dimensions of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. General Kuperwasser, thanks for joining us. Please.
Thank you, Uri, and thank you everybody who's joining. I see still people are coming, but no problem, I'll start. And we are just a month away from a very critical decision whether to apply Israeli sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and the settlements in Judea and Samaria in compliance with the US peace plan that was presented in January earlier this year. Many people call this annexation, but this, of course, is a wrong terminology, because annexation is really against the international law. Countries are not allowed to apply their sovereignty over foreign land, even if they got control of it in a defensive war. But what we are doing here is considering a step that is applying our sovereignty over the land that we own, historically and legally according to international law. And because of that, what should be, if we decide to do that, should be done, is to use the Israeli law from 1948 about the administration and applying law and administration to territories that were under the British mandate. And this law enables the government of Israel to apply its sovereignty over areas that were under the British mandate, that dealt with territories that were promised Israel historically and were under historical control of Israel and were recognized as such by the League of Nations in 1920, 1922. Applying this law in these territories is totally legal and approved by the international community. We haven't done that until now because of two main reasons. One, we were ready to discuss with the Palestinians ways of dividing the land between us and them. All these attempts failed miserably, as you all know. And the second reason why we didn't do that was that we didn't have the support of our strategic ally, the United States, of doing such a move. And now, for the first time, there's a peace plan that says that Israel should have sovereignty over these pieces of these parts of the territories it took over in '67. And it's a golden opportunity for Israel to do that while this approval and support is there. And of course, Israel is not going to do it if the American administration is going to have a different opinion by July 1st. I think Israel is not going to do it because, according to the agreement between Prime Minister Netanyahu and alternate Prime Minister Gantz, implementing this move is totally dependent on full American support. And that's why we shall see what is going to be the American position in next month. And according to that, I think that the decision will fall. So it's extremely important in my mind to understand this is not something that is illegal. I mean, you know, many people try to portray it like that and use the term annexation, which is totally wrong in this context. Now, what's going to happen if we do that? So many people say that the skies are going to fall. In my mind, no. Of course, there's going to be a negative reaction from the usual suspects. The Palestinians have already taken a step that is very strange, just because the government and the prime minister have declared that they intend to do that. they've already taken the step of absolving their commitment to the Oslo agreements, which makes the only part that is problematic from a legal point of view in implementing this move, which is that this is against the Oslo agreements that prevent taking unilateral steps about the final stages by any of the parties. This has become also no problem because the Palestinians themselves have already, not only that they have done everything against the Oslo agreements throughout the years and joined the ICC, paid salaries to terrorists, continue with the hate indoctrination and incitement, and put all of that aside. But now they even decided they are not committed anymore to the agreements. So even this part of questionable legality of this move has been solved. But I think that on top of these moves, we shall see some violence. I'm quite convinced that we shall see some violence for a while. The PA will encourage it, even though it says that it won't. The PA will encourage it. Hamas, of course, will encourage it. We shall see some violence. We shall see some tension with Jordan, because the Jordanians, while on the one hand, they are very happy that we are going to have sovereignty in the Jordan Valley and have permanent presence over there, which is for them critical for ensuring their stability. The last thing they want on earth is that the Palestinians will ever control the Jordan Valley. But they will have to say something and do something, because they have such a big part of their population being Palestinian. So they will do something, but I don't think that I'm already hear it from the Jordanians. They're not going to go in a too extreme move. And the rest of the Arab world is going to say, oi, 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 that's terrible, but not do anything more than that. The fact is that they are, all of them, including Jordanians, Egyptians, and the pragmatic Arabs in the Gulf, are all very close to this U.S. administration, and totally dependent on it. Some of them are dependent also on Israel to some extent. I don't think that they are going to risk their relations with the U.S. and Israel because of this move. And they all know that anyhow, Israel is going to stay there. So it's the only question here is the formality. It's not the question of what is the situation on the ground. Other arguments against moving in this direction have to do with the claim that this is going to be a negative step regarding the possibility of making peace between us and the Palestinians. I have never heard a more ridiculous argument than that, because there's no peace process for so long, and the reason there's no peace process is the Palestinians. First and foremost, it is the Palestinian narrative that rejects the idea that there is a Jewish people, rejects the idea that the Jews had any historical sovereignty in this land, rejects the idea that Israel should have legitimate security concerns that should be met, including the need to have a permanent presence in the Jordan Valley, as Prime Minister Rabin said in his last speech in front of the Knesset when he explained the second Oslo agreement. Israel has to maintain control of the Jordan Valley for security reasons. And the Palestinians, of course, are not going to accept it. So if we just wait until the Palestinians accept, and in the context of an agreement, that Israel will control the Jordan Valley, we shall wait forever. Now, I'm not against the status quo as long as we can't make any progress. But the peace agreement and the peace plan of the American administration gives an opportunity of moving forward. So if there is such an opportunity, I say Israel should very seriously consider taking advantage of it. And the other thing about the impact of such a move on the peace process is also extremely important, because this move, for the first time, tells the Palestinians, listen, this rejectionism, this intransigence that you have adopted for so many years has always played for your advantage, and you always kept a veto over the possibility of moving forward in the peace process. As long as you didn't agree to something, nothing happened. And in most cases, you got a better offer. The Clinton parameters, then Olmert, then the resolution 2334, Every time you said no to any peace initiative that came by, you got a better offer. Here, for the first time, somebody says the truth to the Palestinians. If you insist on saying no to everything, you are going to pay a price. Because we cannot reach an agreement with the Palestinians on the fate of the Jordan Valley, the decision about the fate of the Jordan Valley will be a unilateral decision. And if you continue to say no to any suggestions that is offered to you, in 4 years, there's going to be another move that is going to be on your expense. So make your consideration and take this into account, because this is going to change. It's changing now. And I think that by signaling to the Palestinians that there is a price to pay for refusing everything, the chances that the peace process will move forward are much bigger, because until now they didn't have any incentive to allow any kind of serious peace process. And that's, I think, something very important. Another, maybe the last issue that I would mention in this opening remarks is that people warn us that if we do that, then it will start some snowball effect that will eventually threaten Israel's identity as a Jewish and democratic state. Well, again, I don't see how this is going to happen. Under no circumstances, Israel is going to to put its sovereignty over the territories that are densely populated by Palestinians. The Palestinians have their, what they call state and we call authority on most of these territories. They are in charge of their own fate. It's their decision. They are allowed to take any decision they want. They want to change, to join the peace process or not. It's their decision. And if they decide to carry out any kind of elections in these territories, it's up to them. Nobody tells them what to do. So they control their own fate, and I don't think that Abu Mazen is going to take his belongings and move to Jordan. The Palestinians will continue to control this land because this is the most important achievement of the Palestinian national movement. Why give it up? And so I don't think that we are going to run into such a situation. And if the worst come to worst, if worst come to worst, then we shall have some sort of an autonomy. But this is not in any eventuality going to happen in my mind. Israel will remain the democratic nation state of the Jewish people with equal civilian rights to all its people, and including the Muslim and other non-Jewish members of Israel. So this is in very brief presentation in the beginning, and you may ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. You mentioned the fact that for the first time, the Trump peace deal broke the yoke of the Palestinian rejectionism. Basically telling them, take it or leave it. You know, we're going to go forward with or without you. But it seems that recently the Americans took a step back by saying to the Israelis, you have to do it through deliberation with the Palestinians. So doesn't it jeopardize the whole project?
Well, if the Americans will say what you said now, then it may jeopardize the whole project. There's no way that Israel is going to do it without American consent and support. And so we'll see what is the American position. Until Pompeo's visit to Jerusalem right after or during the establishment of the government, until then the American position was very clear that Israel has to meet two conditions. First of all, there's got to be the committee that demarcate the territory should finish its work. And second was that the prime minister and the alternate prime minister have to say that they do it in the context of the US peace plan. They have to support the peace plan, which means that they also support that if the Palestinians change their narrative and accept that Israel is going to be the nation state of the Jewish people, and if the Palestinians are going to stop supporting terror, and if the Palestinians stop their hate indoctrination and incitement, then Israel will be ready to have a state for the Palestinians as well, and 70% of the Judea and Samaria territories, and over Gaza, and some chunks of land in the Negev. That has to be the case for the Americans to support Israeli unilateral move on the Jordan Valley and the settlements. Later on, when Pompeo left, he and his spokespeople adopted a more nuanced position that said that not Israel, but the United States want to discuss it with the Palestinians as well. And since the Palestinians don't show any readiness to discuss anything with the Americans, I don't know what the Americans are going to do. If they are going to remain waiting for the Palestinians forever, then we go back to the situation that was before, where the veto power is in the hands of the Palestinians and nothing can move forward. I have a feeling, I don't know it, I have a feeling that when July comes, the Americans will say, okay, we waited for the Palestinians so long, they didn't show up. We are ready to discuss it with them, but if they don't want to discuss it, we should give the green light to Israel. That's my feeling, but we shall see. If the Americans will say, no, we have to do it after we have the deliberations with the Palestinians, we may wait forever.
What are the concrete advantages, in your opinion, of the planned move? Will it change anything for better? And more specifically, would it add anything to security or to the Israeli control in the Jordan Valley, or is it only a political move?
Well, it is a political move, first and foremost, because it's about sovereignty. But we control the Jordan Valley anyhow. But it's also beneficial from two aspects that have to do with security. First of all, by telling the Jordanians and telling everybody else and telling the Palestinians that we are here to stay, and this is sovereign Israeli territory, not only just temporarily occupied, then the message to all those who have an idea of trying to push Israel out of there is that this is not going to happen. And people have to adjust to the new situation. And I think this is important because the Palestinians, they speak about their territory becoming a state as in the context of the phaser theory. They believe that this is going to be the first phase, and then later on they will be able to use the territory, they just like the case of Gaza, use the territory that becomes theirs in order to launch attacks towards the rest of Palestine, as they call it, namely Israel of 48. So this move tells them, listen, forget about it. This is not going to happen. This is very important in shaping the way the Palestinians think about security in general. Secondly, it's a tool to pave the road towards peace. Because the message to the Palestinians, as I said before, is that, listen, you don't have the veto power anymore. Now, if you want anything to control and to have a state in the future, you should really hurry, because in 4 years, also the other 30% of the sea areas are going to be questionable whether you are going to control them or not. So start thinking about the future. And I think this is very important for our security, because peace is good for our security. If the Palestinians decide to change their narrative and don't think that their identity is all about struggling against Zionism, but their identity can be focused on making the Palestinian life better, then there's a chance that we shall move towards peace. This change, this critical change has to occur. Without it, we are bound to have an endless confrontation with the Palestinians. And one more element in this security aspect of it is that if we accept the US peace plan, as it is demanded from us in order to have this American support, we also accept the security component of it. And if you compare this security aspect of the plan with the previous security plan, the General John Allen's security plan that was a part of the Kerry-Obama plan, into which we said yes. I don't understand why, but we did say yes. Yes, but we said yes. This is 10 times better security component of the plan. The John Allen plan was no security plan. It was extremely dangerous for Israel. extremely dangerous for the relations between Israel and the United States, because it guaranteed that Israel and the United States will have an ongoing, everyday conflict and disagreements. Whereas this plan gives Israel the overall responsibility for security in the entire territory. This is something that is extremely important. So also from the security aspect of the plan, accepting it is a good idea. It's not perfect, but much better.
Yesterday we hosted Colonel Shaul Arieli, you know him well, and he said the best buffer zone for security-wise is Jordan itself. Why do you need the Jordan Valley when it will give Israel 2 times or 3 times a longer border with the Palestinians and with Jordan than we have today?
Well, first of all, Jordan is not going to disappear. Jordan is still there. And I hope it will remain there forever. So we are not giving up any element of our security. But if we are not present in the Jordan Valley, and if we give the perception that our presence in the Jordan Valley is temporary, then the threat to Jordan is going to grow dramatically. Because just imagine that there are Palestinian forces deployed in the Jordan Valley, on the west side of the Jordan Valley. This is going to be an immediate threat for Jordan, because they are going to join hands with God knows how many, but let's say more than 50% of the population of Jordan that is Palestinian, and threaten the stability of the regime over there. And the strength of all kinds of extreme Islamist groups among them is going to grow, because there's not going to be anybody to hold it, to contain it. And it's going to affect also the situation in the Jordan Valley in Jordan. And this is going to be a major threat for the stability of Jordan. Our presence in the Jordan Valley is critical for the stability of Jordan as well. Of course, the Jordanians cannot say it, and I don't expect them to say it, but they know it. And just because we care about the stability of Jordan, we have to remain there. Now, as far as the length of the border is concerned, this is not a problem. But this is the situation like today. So there are Palestinian B areas that are there, and even C areas, and of course A areas that we have to confront all the time. So nothing's going to change. We're going to continue to control the same roads and the territories that we have controlled before. It's what's going to change the political level, but not the security level. So I don't see anything relevant in there.
Question about the status of the Palestinian enclaves, which will remain inside the area annexed by Israel. What will be the status of the Palestinian there? And Prime Minister Netanyahu already said they'll not be given Israeli citizenship. So you're not afraid that this will be perceived as some kind of a apartheid situation?
No, not at all. First of all, we are talking about very small number of people. And, you know, they are going to be resident of the area, but they don't have to be citizens of the area. Just like what's happening in East Jerusalem. I mean, we can offer them citizenship, but they don't have to take it. And I guess they would prefer to be citizens of the Palestinian entity, state, if it's going to be a state. And I think this is the best way to handle it. They can enjoy the benefits of living in a place where there's an Israeli sovereignty, like, for example, just like the people living in East Jerusalem enjoy the national security and the health and so on and so forth if they want, but they don't have to become citizens of Israel. Although I think this entire issue was not still worked out in detail. But anyhow, we're talking about a couple of tens of thousands of people in the worst case. That's what's going to happen. And if there is peace, then I don't see any problem with that. I'm not necessarily going to be. The general idea of this entire plan is that everybody retains the citizenship of his own. If he's Jewish, he's a citizen of the Jewish state. If he's a nation state of the Jewish people, if he's a Palestinian, he is a Palestinian citizen. That's the idea. As far as this can be implemented, it will be implemented, I guess.
The main gravitas of the plan is that it's based on Trump. But we're facing elections in November, and there's a chance that Joe Biden will win, and then he already warned against the situation. If Israel goes between, let's say, July and November, goes ahead, and then there's a change of administration, don't you see a big problem in American-Israeli relations?
Well, there's going to be a problem. First of all, there's going to be a problem if this happens. But there's going to be a problem also if we are given a green light by President Trump and we don't use it. That's also a problem. He's working so hard to promote peace, and he has invested so much in developing this program, this plan, and attributes such importance to it, and we shall throw it away. This is a price that we should pay. And there's also a chance that Trump is going to win. I don't know who's going to win. That's we are Israelis. We know that you never know what's going to be the result of elections. So it's but both things can happen. What I think we should do is to start a very intensive dialogue with Biden, who is not necessarily an enemy of Israel. But doesn't, in my mind, understand the entire context. It's much of what you asked and what you attribute to Ariely are things that you hear from Biden, which means that he doesn't understand what's actually at stake. We are not annexing anything. We are implying sovereignty over a territory that is ours. It belongs to the Jewish people historically. That's what we're doing. We are not doing anything that will harm the peace process. We are doing something that will give a chance for the peace after so many years that the version of peace, as Biden is committed to, has proven to be totally futile, drove us nowhere, just intifadas and terror. We withdrew from Gaza, and look what happened. If we withdraw from Jordan Valley, we shall have Gaza in the West Bank. This is crazy. So let's understand this. What has been done until now by this entire cottage industry called the peace industry has led nowhere. That was the conclusion that Jared Kushner came to. We have to adopt a new attitude, and this is a new attitude that can bring some fresh ideas and fresh movement to the process. So I think we have to discuss this matter with Biden and his people, because I think he wants peace, and he wants the best to Israel, for Israel and to the Palestinians. We also want the best for the Palestinians, and that's the way forward. That's a new way forward that has to be given a chance. I have much more. What is the nice thing about this new way forward? The entire peace industry, including the people in the Democratic Party that adopt the same attitude, were willfully blind to the fact that the main problem of the peace process, the reason why it fails again and again, is the Palestinian narrative. This Palestinian narrative that says that the purpose, the identity of the Palestinian is struggling against Zionism, that there is no Jewish people. They refuse to accept Israel as a nation state of the Jewish people. This is why they rejected the Kerry-Obama proposal, although on any other topic, it was going very much in their direction. That's where we stand. So this is for the first time a peace proposal that is based on understanding that this narrative of the Palestinians have to change. And if it changes, if there is enough pressure, international pressure on them to change it, and our pressure, then there is a chance that we shall have peace. There's nothing Israel wants more than peace. At least I want peace. But I understand that the old attitude of the people that tell Biden how peace is going to be achieved leads nowhere.
But it's not only Biden. It seems like the whole international community, based on the international law, rejects the idea of annexation. So what do you tell them?
I tell them that this is not annexation. I also am against annexation. Annexation is illegal. This is not annexation. The status, the legal status of these territories is that they are historically part of the territories that belong to the Jewish people. This was agreed upon by the League of Nations in 1922, 1920 and 22. This was in the language of the British mandate over Palestine. They recognized the historical connection between the Jewish people and this land. They gave the British the mandate to reconstitute. There was something, and now you reconstitute the national home of the Jewish people in Palestine. That was and there's no new binding agreement, resolution, law that surpasses this decision from 1922. And so we decided not to implement our sovereignty over all this territory because we thought we can move forward under the idea of land for peace. That was our decision, and because of all kinds of pragmatism that we had, and
Okay.
That's fine. But there's nothing illegal in what we're doing.
Okay. Last question. The Palestinians are stateless. Isn't it better for Israel to recognize the independent state of Palestine and then deal with the state rather than with the elusive authority?
No, and we can recognize the Palestinian state once the Palestinians do what is demanded from them according to this US peace plan. It's, if the Palestinians accept that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people and Palestine is the state of the Palestinian people, so they accept for the first time that the solution will be two states for two peoples, not just two states, one of them for the Palestinian people and the other state without an ethnical identity and that does not belong to any people. If they agree to that, if they agree to the other components of the plan, that they will really fight against terrorism and not support it, that they will stop incitement, that they will accept that Israel can control holy places for Islam. There's nothing wrong with that. When they controlled holy places for Judaism, they destroy them. When we control holy places for Muslims, we make sure that worshippers can come and pray. That's when they agree to that. And when they agree that there's no right of return and there's no return of the descendants of the refugees to Israel, then Israel can accept a Palestinian state. But to accept a Palestinian state that promises to fight according to the phases theory of the Palestinians adopted in 1974, they will continue the fight and the struggle against Zionism. This is really risky and against any logic. And we already tried that. We gave them the ability to establish some sort of a state in Gaza. Look what happened. So it's, I think we should be very careful on that. If they keep to the terms, to the conditions that the peace plan put forward, then this is a different story.
General Kuperwasser, thank you very much for a very interesting session. Stay tuned to our next webinar tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll host Ayelet Shaked, former Justice Minister, who also has strong opinions on this matter. And on a different, but also an important matter, also tomorrow, 11 a.m., we'll host Shira Efron, expert on Israel trade, China, and the US. Thank you all for being with us today, and see you soon.